Hello everyone, my name is Jose and today I'm going to show you a quick demonstration on how does Blar work. So imagine you're a developer at Blar and you want to sync a repo. In this case, this would be our frontend repository. So when you try to sync it, there's an error syncing repository. In order to fix this bug, you'll have to understand what does this button do, which API calls does it make, what does our backend do, and many other steps. But another solution would be to use Blar. So in this case, we can execute our agent manually. We can choose our agent type, in this case, debugger. We can say the error syncing repo. And luckily at Blar, we save different information when a task fails. So we can also include this information, such as the code error and the traceback to our agent. What we do is select a starting point, in this case, our frontend repository. The error happened when syncing our repository, so the handle sync method would be correct. And we generate a report. This report can take a couple of minutes to generate, so for time purposes, I generated a previous report with that exact same prompt. So how does this report look like? It's basically something like this. So Blar basically describes the error. It gives you an explanation on why this error is occurring. For example, the scan directory method inside graph constructor, it's attempting to read a file that contains a non-UTF-8 encoded character. It gives you different hypotheses, in this case, file encoding issue or unsupported file types, gives you a couple of functions and files to review, and finally, it proposes a solution. In this case, change the scan directory method. So how does Blar actually come up with this idea? Basically, what we do at Blar is we structure all of the company's code repositories into a single huge knowledge graph. So what we do is give an agent a starting point, describe a problem, and then let the agent freely traverse the graph, like a code developer would do inside a code repository. So it starts here at the handle sync method. It gives you a couple of thoughts, and then you can see the step-by-step the agent took. So it then came to this method that does an API call to our backend. As you can see, then it jumps from our frontend repository to our backend repository. Here it goes through the different classes and function to get to the post method. This post method then calls another method, that's sync repo method. As well, this calls another method, that's a task, create or update repo graph, as you can see here. And this will probably call another function, that's create repo graph. And finally, this function would make a call to our open source repository. That's another jump from repo to repo. That would be this graph constructor class. Inside the graph constructor class, we can have the scan directory method, and here is where the agent found a problem. So if we go back to the report, we can see the proposed solution that in this case would be adding these couple of lines from the else. But first, instead of fixing the problem directly, let's test the hypothesis out. So the hypothesis was that there was a file that's non-UTF-8 encoded. So what we could do here in the scan directory method is actually add a print. So we can do print processing that given file. We run this as well with our open source repository. And if we run the code, our open source code, here you can see the same error that's in the other side. And you can see that a .png file was trying to be processed. So our agent was right on its intuition that a non-UTF-8 character is being processed. So what we do is basically here, we add the couple of lines that the agent proposed. In this case, instead of reading with another encoding, we simply want to skip that given file. We save this, we run the code, and as you can see, it's already starting to process the graph and building the graph from this given repository. So that's a bit of the power that Blar gives to developers. It really helps them understand code much quicker, code that's not written by them probably, and helps you find solutions to problems much easily. There's also an automatic way of doing this. If you get a sentry error or a New Relic or Datadog error, the agent will automatically execute itself. Thank you very much.